I block for 12. Reaction?
Uh, resource sync some cards. Pass.
Just like 4 razors.
Sweet. Well, welcome to the reaction step, episode number 4. This is a sister YouTube podcast to our main podcast, the Attack Action podcast. How many more times can I say that? So welcome, everybody. On this episode, we're going to talk about our year in Flesh and Blood. But first, we have a little bit of news and announcements. First thing up is that we will be doing a live podcast on December 21st on this very YouTube channel at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So show up and we'll be interacting with the chat, answering any questions you have and whatever. So it's not like it's a back and forth here between us and you, the listener. It's your chance to get to ask us all those hard-hitting questions you've always been wanting to.
Hopefully,
So there's that.
Mostly about mustaches.
Yeah. Taylor, how do you maintain your mustache? Isaac, why don't you have a mustache? Etc.
Yeah, the hard-hitting questions like that. Next in the news is we got some surprise spoilers way earlier than expected. So Valda Brightaxe, a young Guardian hero, will be available in cold foil as a prize for Armories, but we assume will come out in the next set as well. Also, Life of the Party, a new action card or attack action card. Very much on theme with Everfest, will also come out as part of that Armory kit.
Yeah.
You guys have any thoughts on these?
Well, Life of the Party, just great art. It is. It looks like fun. I'm excited by it. There's, I mean, you discard or destroy Crazy Brew to do some crazy stuff, and it's kind of silly. I feel like it's like real close to kind of being broken too, but I feel like it should be fine. Running Crazy Brew is not like the hot meta take, so I think it's interesting. The only thing that comes up is like, is there going to be a lot of just like really weird stuff in this set, and then how much of it's going to be actually valuable and like shaping? Like maybe all the generics are just kind of dumb, and then all the class cards are good, and maybe that's their like handling of generics now. But otherwise, that one looks great.
Yeah, I'm super behind shit getting weird and really fun. Yeah, I'm like all for all of that stuff. Now, I don't even own Crazy Brew, so now I have to, I guess, get some. Or maybe they'll be reprinted in that set. They would have to be if it references that card. That would be the best. I guess it doesn't, right? Like,
I feel like it might
because
be.
there's no limited.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's also no longer, there's no super rares anymore. So like if they re-release it as a rare or something, or maybe a majestic, I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know either. Interesting. And
Yeah,
then, go ahead, Isaac.
Well, I was going to say, I thought that card was pretty unusable. But then I was like, is there this world where you can have blue Life of the Party and Crazy Brews and like pitch them? Because you don't usually want to block with your resource card anyway. So then you see him at the end and pull it off. I don't think that's going to be the meta call, but
No, totally
me
not. I
thinking.
mean, who knows? It's just one card of many. So we'll see what other things interact with it. But it's totally fine to have like super fun cards, rather
Yeah.
than like, not everything needs to be super playable and meta defining or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I like that it's like Crazy Brew, but kind of just doubled. It's like you can gain
yeah,
life, you gain power, or go again, and I mean the art on it's just fun too. It's pretty
totally.
good.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And if that's just kind of maybe it will, okay. sorry, I'm all over the place. Blitz would be way more fun, in my opinion, if it was about running weird stuff like this or fun stuff. Like we're running our coaxes, we're life of the partying, we're playing merchant. If it was like,
Demolition Crew. Come on, let's
yeah,
go.
yeah, totally, like all of that stuff. And then for Valda, I love it that a character from previous artwork is now in the game. That's like super cool. I'm like all for it. And I love her weird ability and her vibe and
Her
just
21 health.
her 21 health, which is sick. I love it.
Yeah. Really
Yeah.
interesting. I think a lot of questions, around will there be other ways of creating seismic surge tokens, and then also just kind of revisiting all the classes and cards that draw cards. And I think my initial impression was there's a lot fewer, but definitely a lot of classes that have like big moves based on drawing cards, like Blood Rush Bellows, Wizard, Three of a Kind, the whole
Ninja
Lightning
stuff.
Briar deck, Ninja Mask,
Yeah,
and then-
9 plunder runs.
yeah, so like it's definitely very interesting. The having 3 to get dominate, and then you also need the crush, like, is very interesting. And I think there could be some really fun interactions of like you do it in a way where you block just enough so that they draw cards, but you don't take a lot of damage. But then all you need is like your crush card in arsenal and 1 card to pitch, and you do like a crazy attack. Which could be really fun, especially if it's cranial crush, you get like double points, right? That should be a
Yeah, totally. It should just have a subtext
Yeah.
that then you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
that
are
would be great.
Valda, you actually crush their skull and win.
Yeah, come here. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna disagree with you guys here. I really, really like Valda thematically, but I think this is kind of like a trash blitz hero. I don't like it at all because it's like, it's very good for like countering the current meta, right? And having like a rock to their scissors or whatever. But it's just this ability is not online against 3/4 of the heroes you play against, or maybe 2/3 or something. And then you're just playing with a hero with no ability, which I think is
21
pretty
health.
lame.
To get that extra
Fair
health.
enough. And I'm sure it's a blitz only character, so this isn't a huge critique, but it's just I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah,
That's
I think it's
that's my
fun.
big thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. Who cares?
I don't expect I don't expect a lot from any of the blitz only heroes.
Yeah,
I guess,
most of them are unplayable anyway. Just
So-
add on to that pile. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so we have a very low bar, so it's fine.
I mean,
Yeah,
it seems
nobody
better
plays-
than Data Doll. So
Yeah, totally. You at least have 4 intellect and more health.
because it's like, oh well, I'm gonna run life of the party, coax a commotion, and let everyone draw cards and just have a good time smashing things up. So I don't know, but yeah, I feel you. It's I like it from a design and just kind of fun thing they did. If they bring other heroes in from artwork, I hope some become a little bit more playable. And then maybe we get like adult versions, like of like the Mangle dude, or the dwarf belittle guy. Like I think there's a lot
Jordan
of,
Nelson Fussell, right?
yeah, Jordan Nelson Fussell, the hero. Yeah, so I but yeah, I don't disagree with you, Isaac.
Cool. And speaking of spoilers, you can look forward to your very own Attack Action podcast spoiler at the end of January. More details to follow. But yeah, at the end of January, we got a spoiler finally. We've made it. It's incredible. Although Chris called us Attack Action Podcast, and I emailed him back and made sure that I wrote the Attack Action Podcast. So hopefully the website reflects that in the future.
It's like
But so
it's like a
it's
Tribe
out there
Called
now.
Quest. You have to say the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes. It's
Exactly.
not Tribe Called Quest. It's
It's
a
a
Tribe
Tribe
Called
Called
Quest. Yeah. It's not Attack Action Podcast. It's the
Quest.
Attack Action Podcast.
Immediately gonna revoke our spoiler.
Whatever.
No,
Yeah,
we're super
whatever.
stoked. You sent that email out, and I was just like sitting next to Jess, and I was just like, "Oh my god, we did it!"
Totally. I told my wife already
Yeah.
after like complaining a lot last spoiler season, like, you know. So anyway,
So that'll be
here
fun.
we are.
Keep a lookout on that.
Totally. And then Isaac has one more announcement before we get into the main topic.
Oh yeah. I have a Ice Lexi deck tech out on the Wraith Times right now. It's a Pro Series article. So if you're interested in a little more well-rounded deck than the one I took to Nationals, it has write-ups for all the matchups and all that kind of thing. If you're into that kind of article, breaking it down for you.
Nice.
Nice. Great
All
job.
right. Thanks. On to our main topic, which is our year in review. Fireside chat with Taylor and Colin.
Nice.
Totally.
Nobody else started talking, so
And Isaac. I don't know. You threw me off because then I was like, is Colin going to have to put in fire effects right here? You know, like.
I'll just
kinda-
start a fire behind me. It's fine. You got a lot of books.
Totally. A library. So yeah, it's been a whole year. So a few statistics. So in this year, we have done, I think, 21 episodes. And now this is our fourth reaction step. So we're well over 2,000 minutes of content that we have done this year, which is pretty friggin' sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. It's also been in terms of like number of subscribers and that sort of thing. It has just been on a steady incline for the entire year. So as the game grows, so do we. So thank you to all of our fans and that sort of thing, especially our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. You really help us keep this ship afloat.
yeah, definitely. And I think it goes to show it really helps us out if you guys, subscribe and comment and all of those things, because we had like a pretty good listener base and we're pretty successful for a long time there and like never got a spoiler, right? And then we get on YouTube, which has the numbers just printed for that, platform. And now we got a spoiler. So I think it just goes to show that your guys is I'm not that kind of subscribe to everything guy, but it really does help us out if you just take 1 second and click like or subscribe or whatever your other options are. So thanks.
Totally. That's what I said. I said if we get on YouTube, we'll get a spoiler. So you're welcome.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah. Fishing for
so
compliments. That's what I'm here for.
I guess we'll just start at the beginning, A. So I think in January, right, is what happens? It is the New Zealand calling, right?
The Blitz calling.
Yeah, the Blitz calling. Yeah. Which is still insane to think about that was in this year. That feels so long ago, right? That we have like a Blitz calling and we have the emergence of like Ira and Kano as these like really crazy consistent decks. OTK Kano, which is pretty nuts. Yeah, and there's some like cool arms races in there. Like Jason Long's deck has like blue unmovable, so he can break the needle, which is like the anti Kano tech. It's just freaking sweet. It was just really cool to see that streamed and that sort of thing. And it's the first time we get to hear the dulcet tones of Brendan Patrick for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who?
and it was one of like 2 events over a 7-8 month period for us. New Zealand Nats, and then that Blitz
Right.
calling. So
Yeah.
it was a real oasis there for us who had just started a podcast in a topic that had no news or anything happen for the next 8 months. So
You know, but you made it work. It was a lot of let's learn how to play this game together. So I mean, that's what brought me into liking and listening. So I think there's a lot of people at the same time, you know, found the game and were just trying to find content. There wasn't a lot, and a couple dudes out in Northern California just having a good time playing in person, just living the dream.
Totally.
It's like it
We
was
were
you
living the
and
dream.
the New Zealanders just playing in person, having a great time, the flesh and blood. Well, the rest of us were just like, I bought these cards. What do I do now? I'm gonna play
Yeah.
on Tabletop Simulator.
It's the blessing and the curse though of living in a rural area is that like and then like working online is that I can hang out with Isaac in person, you know?
Yeah,
But then at the same time we live in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, it has its other disadvantages.
it's cold. You gotta wear a hat,
And a scarf.
and a scarf.
My house is very
yeah,
old and very cold. It's like
I thought it
100
was
year old.
very like at the time it seemed like, oh, there's like no news, quarantine, everything's pushed back. But like you alluded to, Colin, we got into this game at the same time a lot of people were kind of discovering it. And I think it turned out that us starting up our podcast and sharing our experiences, learning and exploring different characters and all that, it was actually a good time for us to start, with that particular formula because, you know, Colin was right there with us, listening along.
Just trying to learn how the hell to play this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Still
Um,
trying to figure it out.
Still trying to figure it out. So after New Zealand Nats, which was, I mean, the calling, the Blitz calling, we then get into
Skirmish
Skirmish
season.
season 1,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy because it opened everybody's eyes up to webcam events, and LSS did a really cool job like making that a thing and supporting it and making all the prizes like participation only, not based on performance. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really cool, but it did not slow down anybody trying to just freaking win events. Like everybody was so starved, everybody brought crazy meta decks, and there was just like a blitz meta, and there were like European players grinding XP to become the first in their country to get 1,000, and they're just like showing up on like a Thursday night for like a LA based Armory and stuff. Shout out to Dennis. Great job, Dennis. You did it. Um, and stuff like that. It was a wild time.
Yeah.
Skirmish season 1.
And
What are your
yeah,
guys' thoughts about it?
I think the first thing that sticks out is like there's just like no new cards, but it felt like the meta was like shifting a lot despite that. Probably due to a lot of people still learning the game, and then you have like we talked about, Ira was just like easily, it was like the easiest best deck to pick up, and
Yeah.
for so long just everyone complained about Ira too, which is really funny given what they're complaining about now. um, but that was like all we had to like base things off of, so it was just like Ira, and then the Kingsley's like tall Dory deck kind of swept a lot of people, which was just like my nightmare. And then so it was very
Well,
very interesting time to be in Flesh and Blood competitive events.
yeah, well, also obviously the remote nature of these events just meant that, the 50 best players in, North America were just at every one.
Yeah.
So instead of a skirmish, which is like a local event, for stores, it was just the best players all over playing over and over again.
Yeah.
Which was really fun and definitely was a good replacement for a competitive season. But that kind of brings us to how we met Colin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was like, this is the story. I'm on the main Discord before the main Discord is too crazy, and people are talking about a new set or whatever. I mentioned something about a new wizard, and Colin replies to me with like, "Oh, you mean Pano?" And then if you are a true attactioneer, you will know that that is what we think the next wizard's going to be is Pano. Kano's little brother.
His little brother.
Yeah. And I
Emo little
remember,
brother.
I remember being so psyched because that was like one of our first interactions with a listener, right? I screenshotted it, I sent it to Isaac, and was like, "People listen to the podcast, they get our jokes or whatever."
Yeah, it was great because it's like for Taylor and I, like sitting in my closet for good audio quality, like
Yeah,
talking to each other in the mic and just like telling dumb jokes and then hitting stop. And then that's it. You're
yeah,
like, I wonder if anybody has ever laughed at any of my jokes or if they're just getting to the news, what's going on or whatever. So like
totally.
any kind of feedback is really nice and was really nice, especially then. So,
Well,
uh,
I'm glad you guys noticed because I was very obviously flirting with you online.
Totally. You just,
I think Pano has like 12 health. And
Right?
like,
Yeah.
I forget what we
dark
actually
magic.
said, but it was great. If you can go find that episode, please do so and leave a comment which episode that is, because I don't remember. But so after that, it's still skirmish season 1, and you helped one of the local stores like put on a pretty sizable skirmish, Colin, and then we had you on the podcast to talk about kind of uh, tournament organization for this skirmish season and the online aspects and stuff. I forget what episode that is, 11 or maybe 8. I don't know, somewhere around there. It's one of the early ones.
Because I was an
Um,
expert because I had never done it before. So, and I never, my first TCG, my first competitive event, I'm just like, sure, I will help you do this. I am a generally organized person when it comes to kind of professional things, not in my own life, but at least when I'm working
I'm
on
an
something.
adult.
Yeah, I'm an adult. I could
I
figure this out. I know how to use a
do
Google
this.
form. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Definitely, I think thinking back, I always feel a bit weird that I was like kind of the organizer and also the judge, and then I was also playing in it. But we had no real judges, and there was, I mean, there
Just how
were
it went.
prizes for performance, but not from LSS directly.
Yeah.
That was from Lucky, and but then I went on to win it. So then I felt even weirder now when I'm just like, maybe I shouldn't have been the judge too. But to be honest, no,
No,
but it didn't seem like a problem at the time, and it only became a problem later. So it's fine. I'm just gonna take it while I can.
Totally.
it was
It was
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, it was an amazing run. I watched all of your top 8 games. And that skirmish was pretty big too, right? It was like 64 players.
Yeah, we had 64.
Yeah, and there were a lot of good players in there. I impromptu challenged the Outcast Haven guys to a best record off for America's Flesh and Blood podcast. And since there's 3 of them, there was only me and Isaac, and we had just interviewed you before this skirmish had popped off. So we were just like, oh yeah, we'll pick Colin up. He's the only other person we know here at this skirmish who's not like, I don't know, Rob or Kingsley or something like that. Um, and then you wound up winning it, and then we also beat them in the record. So we're America's Flesh and Blood podcast still
Forever.
forever.
Totally. And I can't reiterate enough how like this was not just like a local skirmish. It was sick watching Colin on camera after I did not top 8, obviously. Just because it's like all the best players in North America or like wherever, they had woken up to play in the skirmish, and gets down to the finals. Kingsley's got a card and a threat, and Colin, it gets down to Colin can kill him. He KOs, kind of gets what he wants. Kingsley doesn't block, and Colin's like, sometimes when you get what you wish for, and then has to make a further decision. And basically, if Kingsley has a red, he dies, or Colin can block, and hope he doesn't get attack reaction.
Mm.
But Colin rips his shirt off, stands up, daggers fly out of his eyes, and he goes, "Let's do this." And he burns him down.
I think it was
Some of those
amazing
things
either,
may have been
right?
a
It was
little
just
bit
like-
embellished, but
Yeah. The
That's
shirt
pretty
part
close.
happened, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
The more I think
99%
about it.
accurate. Yeah,
I would do
yeah.
that.
Kingsley was also like undefeated up until that
Yeah, I think so.
finals match, so it was freaking awesome.
Yeah. And my whole like learning journey of Flesh and Blood was like a lot of losing to him and Grendel especially. Like those guys were always around playing games on TTS, and I was just like always getting destroyed, and I was just like, fuck. That's why I don't like Dorinthia largely.
Really, yeah, you had to play all Dointhias in that top 8.
Yeah, that was
Which
my
was
revenge,
wild.
and
Yeah.
I did it. It was great. But yeah, that was, I told myself that day I was like, I'm gonna live and die by Kano, and just he burns things down, and if he dies trying, that's just what he gets for fighting people with swords with magic.
Totally, it was great. It was a really fun event for sure. I think it was probably my favorite event, because then after that, it just like we entered into a few more, and it was just like the meta was the same. It was just like Kanos, and well, it was really just Dorinthia and Ira
Yeah.
for a huge part of it. And so if you just
Well, if you won any games, it was immediately all Dorinthias and Iras. Otherwise, you'd start playing everybody. It was like,
yeah,
a lot of brutes.
yeah, the guys who are like, "I love Reinar,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "I love Reinar too."
Yeah. Let's just have a good time playing.
yeah, down here with our 2-4 record.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was definitely, it became kind of a slog, and then immediately it was like Skirmish Season 2 starting like next week, and it was like, oh great, more Blitz skirmishes. And I think I signed up for a few, but it was immediately just like, I just don't want to anymore. Like, it's just, it kind of lost a lot of its fun and novelty being, after playing like 4 or 5 of those events where like a lot of them would be super big, and I ran a couple more too, and it was just like increasingly more stress and just like more people with like a lot of opinions, and it's like, okay.
Well, did season 2 also coincide with the release of Monarch? Is that what happened?
No, it was just before, I think, because it
I
got
think it was
Monarch got
shortly
delayed.
after.
Was it? No, there was
Was there a
season 3 was
season 3?
after. Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
I'm pretty
Gotcha.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I
season 2
was
just like season 1.5 basically.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed that they were just like, and more Blitz.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Hey,
we just had Blitz.
There was a product shortage, and I think they were still getting unlimited prints out, so it was a hard time to get cards. So forcing people to have full constructed decks, I think. Also, I couldn't imagine doing that big of a tournament online with constructed decks. It had just been so long.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing, is just the shorter games are more webcam friendly.
Yeah. I mean, so there was like a CC event, right? Like Red Riot Games does one, but it was like a TTS thing open to the whole world or something like that. And they did it in pods, I think, or something like that. So you had to like win your pod to get to the next day. Yeah.
Totally. Which was a really cool event. And I was excited to finally play in like a constructed event until it was like, oh yeah, Matt Rogers is here, and like all these other players that were just like famous out of New Zealand. You're just like, shit, these guys are good. But it was definitely fun, and I lost to Dan McKay or McKay, who was super nice, just a really jovial fellow who showed me how to play the Rhinar mirror very expertly and just crushed me with claws. So that was fun.
Did he win the event?
Yeah, he did. He beat
Yeah.
Matt Rogers in the finals. So, I'm basically as good as Matt Rogers is what that
Yep,
tells me.
totally.
Math.
100%.
I think math tells me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how that works.
Yeah.
You and
sure.
Matt Rogers are level right under Dan
Yeah,
McKay.
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's crazy. Dan McKay is pretty influential on me because after he played his Prism deck at the Dice Jar
Yeah.
games, I had not really been that interested in Prism, and he was just like, "Oh, and I attack for 1 8 times in a row and do this." And I was like, "Dude, this is tight." And like after that, I was like all about playing Prism. So I enjoy him, and he's a good player, and nice guy on top of it.
Yeah, I've had some opportunities to chat with him a little bit, and he's great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that leads us into the most kind of pivotal moment of the year, which was like the release of Monarch, which we'd all been waiting for so long. Crucible came out in August, right?
We were like,
Yeah,
we're so excited. Let's make 3 bonus spoiler episodes where we talk about all the spoilers. It was just like so much news all of a sudden.
Dude, spoiler season was the most hype thing I had participated in a long time, where like all I was doing was looking at my computer and talking to people.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like every evening at around like 5 p.m. It was just like, I can't do anything, plan anything for those times because more spoilers are going to come out and it's going to be nuts. And it was every time. I forget what I was doing during that time. I think rebuilding my deck maybe or something. I think that was this year. Maybe that was last year. I don't know. I had some sort of outdoor project. I remember just stopping what I was doing because it was like all these spoilers were coming out and we had to like just freaking text each other,
Yeah. No, I remember the first one came out and I think it was Eclipse, where it was just like every new piece of information that had no context whatsoever, which was like, it's a shadow card. It's a legendary instant and a legendary specialization for Chain, or maybe it was Doomsday. I forget which one was first, but it was one of those,
I think it's Doomsday because Levi is our first
That's right. It was
hero
totally
who pops up. Yeah.
So it was Leviah, and it was Shadow, legendary instant specialization for Leviah, and it was just like, what's a Leviah? Like, what's a Shadow? And then
summon a token.
Yeah. What is this plasma fed token that I'm summoning? Like, holy shit! And everybody was just like, and then like that started it, and it just like kept ramping up from there, and it was just like, oh my god! And they're very good at that. Like, even we talked about the spoiler, came out this week. Like, they're like, oh, spoilers start at the end of January. And there's like, oh, but by the way, here's one for the Armory kit. You're just like, dude, you're getting me so hyped up and we haven't even started. But they're very good at like manufacturing, like hype. But, it was so much fun. And it introduced the talents, which was the huge thing because they kept saying it was like the real version of the game was coming.
Yeah.
And, everyone had been talking about that for so long, which is funny because looking back, the comment James White made about the borders and the design of the borders, like people kept coming back to that of like, what does that mean? And then like, the secret name for Tails was Kingdom. So we were like, oh, well, it's all about this. But, it's cool that it ended up being about that in a way that none of us really kind of guessed, but it was nuts. It was great.
Yeah. What did you say? I'm uncomfortable with the control LSS has over my emotions.
Yeah. No.
For this month.
At the end of it, I was physically exhausted.
Totally. I remember, I forget what we were doing, Colin, but we were we were probably playing games on TTS, like with whatever spoilers, and
Yeah.
we were just like, I feel emotionally drained.
Yeah. Like, I know they're like straight up manipulating me, but I'm like really enjoying it, but I'm also just kind of like
Concerned.
yeah, when it stopped, it was like I was at this heightened level of anxiousness, like not bad anxiety, but just kind of like what else, what other information's gonna come out? Like I'm so
Totally.
excited. But yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely had to come down off of that spoiler season.
Just a little worried about how much your emotional state changed, you know?
You know,
It's like,
it had been a long 2020 leading up into that, so
totally.
it was
Yeah,
nice to have some fun and just to have everyone excited.
totally. I was super psyched. I mean, uh, Monarch is for sure like a special set to me because of like all of the above. And like we get two classes I really like. We get a new Rune Blade and a new Warrior. And I still really like both of them. I think they're just really, really cool heroes. Like Raiden is so cool. I was like looking back and like thinking about putting Bolton together, and I was like, man, Raiden is just such a freaking cool weapon. Maybe the coolest weapon. But and I'll never forget like sitting on my or standing in the sun, like having a beer and talking with Isaac and Mitch and Troy, like partway through spoiler season about everything and like the new cards and just like continuing to talk ourselves in circles about like everything that's happening in the game or what's gonna happen in the set and that sort of thing. And also at that time, I we didn't have anybody living in my cottage, so we got to just use that for our like release weekend when the cards came out, and so we just like locked ourselves in there and just opened boxes and played sealed and draft like for 2 days straight, basically. And it was just getting a little too hammered thing, and it was just so much fun. And I really enjoyed playing that set too. Like for whatever reason, it just felt like it really all those heroes clicked for me, and um, it was just really fun. And I beat the crap out of everybody that weekend. So it was great.
Totally. I'd drink a bunch of beer and be like, this round, I haven't played Chain yet. I'm going to play Chain instead of playing it like an actual limited event. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to try out Bolton. I don't know what's going on over there. I got pretty whooped, I think. My big Monarch takeaway was just like how much it changed the game, right? Like in addition to introducing talents, it's like the game up until that point had been mid-range exchanges, right? There's like aggressive decks and control decks, but if you block for 6 and swing for 8 with a hit effect, a la Azalea, that's like really efficient. And now that's just like trash. That's like it just doesn't, the game doesn't function that way anymore. So it's like introducing these big kind of power combo or aggro combo decks like Bolton or Chain, or Leviathan can be that way,
Or Prism.
Prism, yeah, all of them. And now into like, we're seeing the same thing with Briar and stuff. The game just like really opened up, and it kind of showed us like what the game is, now. Even though Tails came out, it's like the game is very much still functions in that way. I realize there's Oldham and stuff and like some exceptions that kind of slow it down, but Oldham v Briar is very much Bravo v Chain in a lot of ways. It's still just these like big powerful combos that you build to, and it definitely makes the game more complex and pretty interesting. um it it did take away some things. Like I said, I kind of like making those mid-range calculations, trying to figure out what your opponent's doing, and pitch stacking in the like Rhinar versus Dorinthia matchup that just grinds to the end or whatever. So I don't think it was all good, but it definitely really like I said, I guess opened it up quite a lot.
Yeah,
And we'd never seen that before. So like, it like took me a while to realize like, whoa, you can just like go to town with Levia. It's like you gotta build it and craft it, and then she can just like go off for, a bunch of turns in a row. It's like really, really incredible once you really like figure out how to play that entire game, game plan together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with the like dominance of chain, it still was, I think, I don't know. I still had a really fun time, and maybe this is maybe a little, uh, I don't know. It just was cool to have the game change so drastically, you know. And I don't know. Maybe it is bad how powerful chain was, um, but it definitely made for a pretty exciting like competitive season that followed Monarch. Like, there was a lot to talk about still, even with kind of like one deck that was really dominant that never really won anything that important. You know, like it didn't win that weird. It didn't win the TTS. It didn't win the first New Zealand ProQuest. It did not win the charity TTS thing that also happened. Right, for Kale, right, and cancer and that sort of thing. And it did not win the Vegas calling, like, the most dominant deck that did not win anything,
Just
major.
a ton of road to Nats.
Yeah, totally.
Except like by far all of the tournaments.
Yeah.
Just not those three.
Just not the biggest ones. But yeah, I mean, I think, it was good that it did change the game a lot. I think we were so stagnant for so long, and like I said, people made do, and there was a lot of learning and kind of like minor meta shifts that were very interesting. But it was cool to just like have just like this whole new thing thrown into the mix and like just shake everything up, and presenting these really interesting heroes that provided a lot of I think value as a player to like explore, and like you said, Levia is kind of I think a bit glossed over by a lot of people because she's difficult to play and can just easily kill herself.
Yeah.
If you misplay it, it can be very just immediately destructive to your own game plan. But if you take the time to get good at it, each one of these heroes was just like, I think we'd spent so much time with the first 8 that it was cool to just be like, wow, like, someone's doing this super cool like Raiden, Sabers combo deck, or hybrid deck, and then we won't talk about Sabers Bolton because that's an abomination.
Yeah. You hear that, Patrick? Patrick from our local scene, you hear that?
It's not good. Find something else.
Yeah, build a different.
Do we have a local running Sabers Bolton?
Yeah, he was telling me, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get all the cards. Can't wait." I was just like, "You're a bad person now. Yeah. I think less of you."
Let's check out. Check out my Ice Lexi deck. Just like wreck you.
Yeah, I can't wait to play. I can't wait.
Just make sure Isaac's there.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, but I think kind of on that note of like getting better at these heroes and kind of training and stuff, like right after or with Monarch, I forget, they announced like the callings and Road to Nats and like the whole kind of, and even I forget when the ProQuest announced, like or Pro Tour announcement was, but like all that stuff kind of like happened very quickly, and it was just like, oh crap, like this is turning into like a real competitive scene with like big events, and it seems like things are going to be, with the vaccine, all these other things, it's going to be okay to like go and do this stuff, which was really exciting. And I think pretty quickly we all were just like, well, should we start like practicing a bunch and like being good at this game?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we made the deck building episode, and Colin was like, well, do you guys want to, put your money where your mouth is and, start like testing for the Road to Nat season? So, we put together a very small group of players and tested once a week, twice a week,
Twice a week.
something like that. And
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh, you said and then didn't say anything.
I know, because you were
Go
saying
ahead.
stuff. Yeah, it was episode 21, Trust the Process, and we talk about it's like our best episode in terms of numbers and that sort of thing. It's just a lot more comprehensive on like how to test your deck and like learn from games and that sort of thing. And then so we basically did everything we said in that episode, us and a few other buddies and that sort of thing. Shout out to Thomas. And yeah, we had a great time getting together and preparing for Road to Nats and kind of our pinnacle of our season, as far as we knew at the time, was going to be like the Vegas calling. So everything was like leading up to that. But Road to Nat season was really fun, and I really I look forward to it again this coming year. I had just a blast. Like I mean, it sucks a little bit for us because it's like we have to travel minimum of 5 hours, um, to get to a Road to Nats. But everybody that we met at those tournaments was really cool, and they were also at Vegas and other stuff, so we've made like some new friends, which was like the best part, even outside of like mine and Isaac's success in Road to Nats.
Yeah, I saw some of them at nationals too, which was pretty fun. Like just throwing it back to our first Road to Nats where we met some other players.
Yeah, totally. So nervous and just
Taylor
felt so
booked
awkward.
them.
Yeah, it's like
Taylor
it's
had a
freaking
great
sweet.
Road to Nat season. The rest of us were just kind of like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I need to be better at this. Well, Isaac had a built-in handicap. I tried to play chain and just was a bad chain player, so but apparently, my local scene in LA it's got some heavy hitters because little did I know that Tyler Horspool was going to go on and win the Vegas calling. It's like he was just some guy playing Prism. I should have paid attention to his deck then, but I was tired and upset, so I just went home instead of watching the finals at the shop.
Well,
That's
in your defense, I think Colin was you're like a diehard Prism player, and then when that wasn't working out, you tried to pick up chain and bring it, which is tough. It's tough to like switch decks.
Yeah.
Mid competitive season, or
I remind people anytime they complain about powerful decks that there are definitely bad players of powerful decks, and the deck doesn't just win the game. Like you have to play it correctly, and you have to know what your game plan is. And
totally. Azalea is really fun against really bad chain players.
one of the best. I had found like a notepad with like my life totals from that road to Nats. And it was like my last game was against Azalea, and it was 1-1, and it was just like I barely won that game, and it was just like, man, this is rough. It's got all those hit effects, and you're just like, shit, I'm gonna die again.
Totally. Only Isaac was the only person I was ever worried playing Azalea, because he's just like good at playing against me. So it was like always the worst. Like my first round in the calling Vegas was against Azalea, and I was like, awesome. And I smoked that poor dude despite how nervous I was. But I really did, like, just to toot my own horn a little bit, like that first Road to Nats we went to in Sacramento was so fun because the three of us just show up out of nowhere and no one has seen us before, And then like I just 9-0'd that whole thing. And that was just so fun to just like drive down, beat everybody, and then like drive home, It was just cool to just come out of nowhere.
Totally. Well, you definitely get big props for that because you were also like the most disciplined and dedicated, of the testing group, and like really put in the work to like, just craft that deck and get your reps in, and then play that tournament just like you had played the last few testing nights or whatever,
Totally.
and it
Yeah.
like really just like, you know, really paid off.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of control in that particular tournament, and that's like chain at its most fun is the deck stacking, and the giant combo at the end is like, really, really fun. I take for granted maybe how difficult that is, and maybe also how fortunate I was to have like really discovered that in testing. Because I think some players had not figured that out against like Bravo or who's that other player?
Prism,
Dash. Yeah,
Dash, yeah.
Dash. Yeah, and how to like play into those matchups and control, and like pitch stack your deck and that sort of thing. So um, it still makes it really tough. It's still hard, but it's like one of the most rewarding things. You're just like, there it is, 35 damage. Here we go.
I mean,
So
similar with like, you know, the Prism matchup. After my disastrous road to Nats, I decided just to go with what I like doing, so at least I would have more fun. So I went back to Prism, and like, by the time we get to Vegas, I've practiced a lot against Bravo, and it was just like one of the most same reasons, one of the most fun matchups, because like I just, you know, they're expecting all sorts of stuff, and it's like I kind of, I play out auras, and then I pitch my tomes, and then I pitch my eruditions, and it's just like you come back to this turn where I'm like, I'm gonna tome 3 times in a row, draw like 12 cards, erudition, pummel, and draw more cards, and it's just like, and like some people would be like, "Oh, you just got like really lucky." I'm just like, dude, I literally put all those cards in there like one by one so that I would draw them all, and then it's like I got there, I had 2 in hand, I knew it was gonna happen. Like,
yeah,
it was so much fun to do that, and like I felt bad at some times because it would just be like, wow, and now I had like 10 like spectral shields, and then I would just like take a hit, tome my face off, and just and just like have such a good time doing that. So it's like those control matchups can be really fun when you have like an ability to really counter them, and they're not just like
yeah,
shutting you down everywhere. But you know,
Totally. Levi is another deck where you're just like, yes, a control matchup. You know.
yeah, totally. Incredible. Yeah. So it was a really fun Road to Nats season. Isaac, you, I think, most famously top aided with Azalea and just played hard mode the whole time.
Yeah. I went in that first tournament where you just like smoked everybody. I I think I went 2-4 because I didn't know to like hurry my opponents along, and like all this like, because I wasn't used to playing in a competitive
Totally.
scene. So I just like
Everybody's
learned.
never played Azalea, so they're like reading all of your cards, and
Yeah,
they're like,
I'm like, come on.
yeah, totally. It's remorseless. Just freaking come on.
Yeah.
No, you can't use your defense reaction.
I mean, I think it
Yeah.
was a lot of our like first in-person events too. It was like Road to
Yeah,
Nats. It was
totally.
like
Yeah,
skirmish online,
Totally.
and then Road to Nats, where it was like the stakes were much higher.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I learned everything I, needed to, I guess, about competitive play in person settings. So then the next tournament I went to in Portland, on my own, because I was like, I can do better than that. Like, I didn't think I would ever win a Road to Nats with Azalea, but I was like, I can do better than this. So then I top aided that Road to Nats up there, which, uh, made me pretty psyched. It was great. Beat Thomas on Bravo, unfortunately. The only other person I knew there, round one. But
I played someone I knew at every like I played Mitch in one, and then I played you in another one, and it was like,
yep.
come on, like I just drove 5 hours to play the same dudes I play all the time.
Totally. Well, early too. Like, I'd play you, but I don't want to play you round two
Round two,
in a
yeah.
32 person event, which isn't that low odds, but
No. Yeah, I played I Love Kush, John, in like round
Friend
one
of the pod. Hell yeah.
at the top deck keep road to Nats, and it was just like, God damn it, dude. We were both like, really? Because we actually sat down, and then they messed up the pairing, so they repaired everybody, and then I sat down with him. I was just like, oh, and like lost that one, which sucked. And then it's like, even in when I got to Vegas, round one, and there's like 1,000 people there. The first round, I'm playing a dude I know from, he's like one of the guys from Irvine that comes up and plays in our events. And it's just like, fuck. I was like, I'm sorry, man. It was my worst matchup. It was Chain as Prism, and then I won, which was dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you guys want to move on to the Vegas calling?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then, kind of the pinnacle of my flesh and blood year. I don't want to speak for you both, but we got an Airbnb in Vegas. The three of us plus
Met Colin.
met Colin in person.
Yeah.
More handsome in person than on camera,
Thank you.
is.
But you thought I'd be taller.
No, I knew you were a short dude.
I've got the short dude energy.
Yeah, and then Thomas is there. Shout out to Thomas. He's been on the pod. Johnny Blue Razor Mitch is also there. And we had like t-shirts made and we got to play in the Vegas calling, which was insane. It was like the most people I had ever been in a room with since like a sporting event in 2019, like the college basketball team I was coaching, we like went to the playoffs and had a home game, and there was like, 1,500 people there for that home game or something. But then like the same amount of people were here to nerd out and play cards, which was mind blowing.
It was so dope. It was so validating that like, because for so long it was like, nobody's really playing this game, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. And it was just, you show up and it was so many people, and everyone was so stoked to be there. It was like a good vibe, even though like it was like a huge event, and, it was, you just see everyone you knew from your local Road to Nats, people you'd seen online or, chatted with online. And, I mean, extra hype because Tails, premiere was there. So like on top of all this, like nerve-wracking, like training to like play in this huge competitive event, it was like also we get to like be the first people to open these packs and like check this shit out. Like so much fun. And like meeting you guys, like it was dope. It was like internet friends become real friends, have a good time.
Yeah, in hindsight, I mean, there's been a bunch of these things now, but in hindsight, that was like the first calling. I mean, I know there had been previous callings, but for a lot of us who had,
those were like set up by James White personally, like
yeah,
in like
totally.
a small LG, local game store.
Totally. Or like in New Zealand or whatever, but like this was like, it was like the calling.
Yeah,
it was
in North America, it was the
deal.
calling, like to go to. It was super cool. Yeah. And then, Taylor just like smashed face.
Yeah.
Almost. I almost smashed face.
I mean, you had a good run, a really good run.
I had a good run.
We all did very well. I think nobody felt like they didn't
totally
do as well as they kind of were hoping to. But
yeah, I think I got 25th overall is what I wound up as.
Nice.
I got
out of like
800
or something. Or whatever.
No, it was like
very many people.
It was like 1,000 people, I think, in the main event.
Oh wow! Well,
close.
All right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, so that's quite good.
It's not. Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It was awesome. I mean, like we get to meet Brendan Patrick and Dante Delfico for the first time, and they were really nice human beings. We like had dinner with them 2 evenings in a row, and that was like a ton of fun, getting to know them and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sushi and beers.
Yeah,
and I remember late night Thomas and Mitch just drinking beer and having wizard duels.
Totally, and Colin
like all
too.
That other stuff was just like
you just play Fab all day and then go back to the party and just like, you want to play a game? Like, yeah, let's go. Like
wizard duels are different though; they're special.
They are. They really are.
Yeah, it was just such a great time and was a real great celebration of the game and stuff. Met the Team Covenant guys too. Played really well as well, except for on day 2. And I'll like never forget that game. It's like one of those losses. I lost to Control Prism and basically got triple sentineled, like almost all 3 of them right in a row, right at the end of like at the perfect time of the game, like right before I deck out and right as I deck out, and it just sucked. It just sucked losing like that. I was like, I have all 3 of my Rift Binds in my Banish Zone, all 3 of my Howl from Beyonds. I got all the resources. I have all these seeds. I have like a bajillion damage, and yeah, just could not play around 3 in a row.
Now Taylor does not go to the grocery store without time skippers.
Yeah,
or
totally.
anywhere.
It was also insane. I had to play 2 wizards, like round 3 and round 5, day 1,
nuts, yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's always a little scary playing. I actually
Null Read won too.
Like a boss.
And I won both of those. Yeah. Yeah, that's a funny story. Like Mitch wanted a bunch of like testing the night before because he also brought Kano, and he was like, "Come on." And I was like, "All right, fine. I'll hook a buddy up," not really getting me ready for the Vegas calling. But little did I know it paid off immensely. Incredible.
So
Thanks, Mitch.
No.
Knew what to do with your 1 null rune.
Yeah. Always block.
I'll show you where to put that null rune.
I played a wizard day 2 of nationals and was like, "Oh, you're probably pretty good at wizard." I hope this goes well.
Yeah, in one of my wizard matches, he back-to-back Aether Spindled me for 8, 2 turns in a row. And I was like, oh, he's definitely going to find Flare, and I'm dead. I'm super dead. And he didn't, and I thankfully won. But he looked through like 16 cards or something insane and didn't find one, thankfully.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
anything else we want to talk about at the calling? We just had a blast.
Yeah.
It
was super cool. I think, the only thing I wish I could have done was make it to one of the other callings.
Yeah.
But they were so like soon afterwards. And you got to fly there. I really hope we get like a California calling, or at least a West Coast calling. That's a little bit easier to get to. But it would have been really fun to play like in a limited calling. I think it's just different. You're not you prepare, but like you don't have to worry about like this is my deck and this is my matchups and like this is everything I got to do. It's just like I'm just gonna play some cards and have a good time, and hopefully it goes well. If not, I'll go play the Pro Quest.
Yeah, definitely. I did meet my buddy Zane, who then later convinced me to go, or helped convince me to go to nationals. I met him at the calling. I had won 3 in a row, my first 3 rounds with Levi. I was like, this is going pretty well. And then got up to the like good chain players, and I think I was beating him like 25-12 or something. And then he did the chain thing.
Is he the guy who you
killed
said
me that turn?
Yeah, who said like that's never happened before or something like that?
Or he was just like, this board state's disgusting. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something.
That's funny. I didn't know that was Zane. That's great.
Yeah. But anyway, nice guy. And then he was like, dude, you should go to Nats. And then I did.
So, hell yeah.
And that was the next pinnacle of the year, was Isaac going to Nats and just rocking the world of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, we none of us, it was just like too much, especially to like a sealed calling. That's pretty tough because it's a little more fun because it's like more random, but also it's just like spending $1,500 to play sealed and just get a bad pool is pretty, a little bit tougher and like a whole weekend. So none of us.
Your only rares are like Biting Gale and Blue Flash or something,
Yeah, like yellow Biting Gale.
Yeah, totally. My dog.
So,
My dog.
I thought it was your ghost.
so yeah, none of us made it to any of those. Which maybe in the future we will try to make it tomorrow. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah,
But
there should be some more, so should be
you know,
easier.
I did. But yep, I did. 7 days, 9 days, something before nationals decided to go to Nats, and yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Still
it was
blows
incredible.
my mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And
like,
if you guys, if you want like a detailed recap of all of these events, go check out the podcast for sure.
yep,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Incredible run, Isaac. I mean, you play a Lexi, Ice Lexi, make the meta call, and just like destroy Briar on your way to top 8. You know.
Yeah.
What did you say, Colin? Like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, all in the same run, right? Like the people's champion, everybody's rooting for you in the top 8, and then just like an epic whiff off of 3 of a kind, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what people say now about Lexi, is that she's like inconsistent or whatever, you know?
Totally. Well, there's this. So I've been playing Ranger for a very long time, and there's this. You could be like, should have run more arrows, but then you put too many fucking arrows in your deck, and you draw a hand that's all arrows, and then you can't fuse any of them, and it doesn't do anything. Also, so anyway, but that turn was pretty tough, just because it's like the 4 cards before it, and then the 3 from 3 of a kind. So not seeing anything in any of those was pretty rough, but it's all good. I was pretty happy against Briars, but I don't know if I would have beat Michael on chain in the final anyway, had I made it past Tarek, the best Briar player, also, you know. So so that you know, that bit of unfortunate occurrence and a couple misplays by me may not have carried me through to the finals anyway. But yeah, I just talked about this with Hayden on time in the round. I think there are a couple things that really helped me out, like Lightning Briar just appearing a week before finals kind of reset the playing field for everybody, right? So I had not been testing for 6 months straight preparing for this moment or whatever, right?
You have been preparing your whole life for this moment.
That's true. For the past year and a half, with getting I've lost a lot of games with Azalea. I deserve this.
It's called karma.
But, yeah. So like it just resetting for everybody, or almost everybody. Like, you know, some players had got some reps in with Lightning Briar, but I think that worked in my favor overall. Is like a lot of people adopting this deck or trying to counter it, and it just being like totally, you know, a totally new meta. Helped me out in that way. Everybody was on a deck that's like fairly easy to target. Also helped me out, right? This like wasn't chain. This was like a bit more fragile. And having 3 rounds of draft first every day really helped, I think, get me out of the general population where you could get a little bit more unlucky in your matchups. And, you know, performing well in draft allowed me to like get higher sooner and play more Briars, hopefully. So I think those 3 things or whatever, there's a bunch of factors, but those all really, you know, helped me out. But I will say, like, I mean, Lexi is not Azalea, but reps on Ranger really helped me just pick up and play Lexi. There are a lot of like tricky Ranger plays that, you know, people did not see coming, which is like pretty satisfying. You're like, yeah, Ranger's good.
Yeah, like the one
I
where
didn't
you
say
take
that to anybody.
It's like where you take your arrow out of your quiver and you stab one bad guy in an eye and then you shoot it at another bad guy. Or then you like take a shield and throw it down some stairs and skateboard it and shoot arrows as you. I just watched Lord of the Rings. So.
They made those movies about me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's what they need. They need a new Ranger hero that you can put your arrow in your weapon slot and then stab somebody with it for like 2 damage with go again.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
I'm into it.
That's pretty cool.
Just name Legolas. The not elf.
Yeah.
The one thing I was gonna say was like it wasn't just like the medical, like you crushed it on sealed, or was it all? It was all draft. It was all draft.
Draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like like that that's a whole other skill set, and like you have to make a bunch of good calls when you're drafting, and then you have to play well with that deck, like like you really just
Yeah.
like went in there and just did so good. We were so stoked. I remember like everyone was texting each other. We're all freaking out. People in the Twitch chat were freaking out. Like the best thing, I think we screenshotted and shared, was just like, Isaac, he has a family. Like it's like everybody was so just like so stoked. So it was just like a lot of fun, and as kind of like heartbreaking as it was in the end. Like I mean, kudos to you. Like I think I would have been wrecked. For like 2 months emotionally coming off of that, and you took it in stride, and like it's just really awesome, and I'm we were all super proud of you, so it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was your nationals to do really good at, because you're very good at Tails Limited, both sealed and draft. For whatever reason, it works really well with your brain, because it's, I think, a little bit more complex or something. All of the like card inclusions or exclusions, with your like a big beautiful brain you have, you just like it better.
Thanks, you guys. Keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, that, like you said, with Monarch is really like your set. Tails was very much my set. It it like expanded the Ranger class. I think the other two heroes are also pretty cool in like subtle ways. Like excluding Cheerios Briar or whatever. It's like all the classes in Tails are really cool. And I used to not be very interested in limited, because it kind of felt like, I'd like to just solve the puzzle with all the pieces. Thank you. I'll play constructed, but the like intricate dance, it's just like a beautiful draft. It's like the best one I've ever played in any game. So it really, now I really, really love draft. And, had a Ranger that was well positioned. It was just like the perfect. So yeah, Tails will be,
It's your Monarch.
yeah, it's my Monarch. To your Tails. I don't know.
I don't have a set yet. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's crazy though, because for me, like I'd never played any kind of draft in any game like this. So Tails was like my first draft experience, and I've only played a little bit of it, but it is really interesting. Just like the balance of the elements and the three heroes, like it's just like a good number that they found with the three things and the overlapping, talent stuff. Like it was just so cool, because it allowed you to, I think it's like a little more flexible in some ways, but also, it rewarded you for like making good choices on like good cards, and then figuring out how to like, make the deck work, with everything that came your way after that.
Yeah, and so we in our local armory have just basically been drafting Tails since its release, basically weekly. And I'm still surprised at how much I really enjoy doing that every week, basically, and how much I'm still learning, about the drafting and the cards and reevaluating them and stuff. It's surprisingly excellent,
Yeah. It feels like you will never be a master of Tails draft. That's what
Yeah,
it feels like.
totally.
And that's why
Yeah.
it's good, know.
Yeah. Yep.
Totally.
Yeah. It's extremely fun, and it is kind of a bummer that we don't, after such a great 2 limited sets. It's hard to get a supplemental set sometimes because of that. It's like not draftable. That's like the only thing that's tough. But it's like, I only say that now, right before we open packs, and then later when like open packs and it's crazy, it'll be fine.
You'll forget about it when you get that spoiler in the mail.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so I think we're kind of reaching the end here. So I had one last question to wrap up our year in review, which was a kind of wish or goal for next year.
How about you start, Isaac?
Among many big and small, I would say my goal would be to perform well at Worlds,
Nice.
which is a very
Flex.
big goal. But I do have one PTI now, and only having one, I would save it for Worlds, and hopefully when Worlds comes around, it'll be a semi open or a healthy meta, with at least a few viable classes to make it a little bit more interesting, as this game has been for the vast majority of its life. So I don't know what next year holds as far as like my time, like how much I'll be able to dedicate to testing and all that, but just going to Worlds and performing, making myself proud would be a real dream. So
well, if we look at the historical sheet, you just don't need to practice or test. You just show up to Worlds and like
just keep playing Ranger, dude.
Really good timing.
All you gotta do.
Show up, bring Leviah as a backup, and just show us all what we're missing.
I do have one more goal. I would love to, a la Vegas, I would love to have us all go to another, like nationals or a big calling, and just like have on our really cool, not really terrible jerseys, and
they're not jerseys, they're just t-shirts.
Yeah,
right.
But the satin jackets.
I just meant some people's jerseys are less cool. But just like to do the same thing again, right? Like all perform well, like stay up late having beers and wizard duels, like all that is just great. So that would be awesome.
I just want that to be a normal thing that happens, a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Totally. Yeah, I definitely echo that, Isaac, that's one of my goals as well, is to recreate our Vegas hangs, like get an Airbnb, go to another calling with all the homies, get another like limited t-shirt. By the way, I forget the exact name of the person who won our Johnny Blue Razor t-shirt. That shirt will not be reprinted. So that's like a first edition cold foil alpha print. So if
t-shirt.
We ever become t-shirt, if we ever become more famous than we already are, just know that about your t-shirt. But yeah, so recreating that, definitely. And then just for like the game, me as a player, sorry, I just got a text from my wife, threw me off. I would like to recreate my road to Nats success. So I would like to re-qualify for nationals and then go to nationals is what I would like to do, since I didn't get to go to nationals this year. But now, hopefully, knowing what all of that takes and financially is required, etc., blah, 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 I will be able to adequately plan for that eventuality and get all the requisite testing in so we can make that a dream come true.
Nice. Third goal, go to nationals with Taylor.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, I think, looking at both from a playing perspective as well as like a community perspective, I hope next Road to Nats seasons to perform a little bit better and hopefully qualify for nationals, and then all three of us can go to nationals, and then that's just a party that's good no matter what. I think that would just be really rewarding to, win. Now, I don't even have to win. Like, I think, what was it, top 4 to get an invite? Like, I would be very happy just to get an invite, but I think, the men out here, the players out here are very good. So it's a little bit harder, I think, which means maybe I'll just have to drive a little bit further away to take on some other competitors. Or,
go to Portland. You can top 8 with Azalea. Portland Zing. Just kidding. I love Portland.
Take that
go.
on it.
Let's
Just
go.
kidding. It's great up there.
Hey, dude, Justin Salmon or whatever. I think he's a Portland guy, and he top 8'd at Vegas.
Oh,
Nice.
sick.
And then, my other goal for the year is to come and make it for a Battle Bros release party for a draftable set, so that we can all hang out and play sealed and draft and have a good time. And that's it. That's all I want.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
That's all I want. Do we have any goals for our podcast or our media empire? Is that something we care about at all?
Yeah, I would love for us to kind of increase content production, like kind of solidify us as like a brand. I don't want to do anything I don't really want to do, like like box openings or something, right? But
Right.
it's tough, because we do this all essentially for free, thanks to our patrons, but we don't make any money at this, so it's a little bit tough to like grow your brand into this huge thing. But I very much enjoy doing this, enjoy the game, enjoy what we produce, and I would like to. We don't have to get much bigger, but to just really be one of the staple goofy news sources in Flesh and Blood.
Totally. Yeah. We're kind of the in-betweener, right? Did I mention this somewhere to somebody? I feel like I've talked about this before. Well, never mind. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
You didn't say what it was.
Yeah. Well, we're not ever going to be like Arsenal Pass, but we're also not Joe Schmo. You know what I mean? We're like in between. We're for everybody. We're that's why we're America's Flesh and Blood podcast. Totally. Maybe that'll be in our new intro to the podcast.
Like in a rainbow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
Love that.
I mean, I think, it was a very, conscious decision after Vegas. It was like, I was mad you guys hadn't gotten a spoiler, like as just a fan and a friend. And so it's like, well, maybe we just need to be on YouTube. And I was like, well, I could figure it out. I'm a tech savvy guy, and I want to spend more time doing Flesh and Blood stuff. So and here we are. Not saying it was the reason, but I think definitely it's nice. I enjoy watching a lot of videos, and I often, a lot of them, they're either like very dry and just like people playing, and like the quality's not great, or it's the other end is like Arsenal Pass, where it's just like just very strategic, and just like this is all about getting that competitive edge. And what I've always loved about your guys' relationship and show is just like, you're funny, is a good time to listen to, and you also know what you're talking about. And I think that's the kind of thing I want to interact with, and I think we're going to try to put out more more videos and stuff like that to really ride that wave of friendship and community all the way to LSS. This is front door.
Hell yeah, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, till we all get jobs.
Yeah. We'll start the LSS North American branch, because I don't really want to move to New Zealand.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I would definitely move there for sure. 100%, no problem.
I already have a house.
Me too. I'll rent it out. I don't care.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, next
my
year.
Wife's my wife's a mycologist, and so they have
accepted.
really great. Yeah, they have really great mycology over there. So she would be super into that.
New Zealand's got them good mushrooms.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Okay, well, that's our show.
Yeah, man.
Thank you everybody for being along with us for any part of our journey, big or small, and for listening to this episode. I hope to see a sizable number of you during our live cast, December 21st, 6 p.m. Please be there with your questions. So me and Isaac, for once, don't have to come up with any content ourselves.
I will make 8 email YouTube accounts so that I can put in lots of questions.
Oh, and Colin Tonigman has a different question.
This guy Colin 42069 says
it's Carlin 92.
Cool. Well, thanks, and get a hold of us through all social media platforms. They're in the description. You know how to do it. Karate chop that subscribe, and then eye gouge that bell button so you know. I don't know what YouTubers do. You know what I'm trying to say.
Leave a comment, like the video. Algorithms are real and biased.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Good night, everyone.
Watching.
Goodbye. Sweet. Good episode.
Like that.